What's good, everyone? This your main correspondent, Alan Taylor, and I'm back in the broadcast room. And this is where we at now. So we got another one from the Lapeef Network and things like that. Listen, look, man, they're going to be talking about, what I'm saying, basically marriages and how things, kind of, supposed to work or not working, things like that. We're going to dive off into it because, what I'm saying, I think it's Brother True Table is going to speak some facts that I think that needs to be heard. So we're going to dive off into this quarters, nickels, and dimes, people.
Men and women today even need traditional gender roles, or are they holding us back?
Okay. It's a complicated answer, mostly because we've been so indoctrinated into gender roles that it's just kind of like the fabric of the relationships that we have now. But I do believe that a lot of that is a little outdated, mostly just because the dynamics between men and women have changed so much over the decades. Women work more, and women are not these domestic people anymore. Like a lot of us are. But when I say that, I mean, we have to work and we're tired after work as well. And if both people are working in the household, both people should contribute to the labor in the household, and it shouldn't just be on the woman. And womanly duties are just human duties. So I think that some things can be tweaked depending on the relationship dynamic, but so many things have changed. Society has changed. The way people live has changed. So we do have to kind of tweak that a little bit. Some of it is outdated for some people.
I kind of agree with Bo. I feel like it's dependent on your situation. In today's society, like Bo was stating, most people work, especially most Black families, right? And not just a part-time job. We both work full 40 hours or more per week with our children. So I think that traditional roles is just depending on the lifestyle that you have. Now, some women may still want to come home and only be the one that cooks and does laundry and takes care of the kids. But the reality of the situation is that men are not bringing in the majority of the income. So they're not the ones paying the majority of the bills for. We split that, so it only makes sense that now those roles are changed where we also split the household duties as well. So I don't think it's a should we or shouldn't we. I don't think we have the luxury of it anymore.
Now, of course, listen, look, the way that society's been going, especially through all these crazy movements and stuff like that, the feminist movement. Listen, look, women actually fought to get into these workspaces. Now, I'm not saying, of course, women have always worked. We had to definitely, like during World War II, for example, women were in the factories, the men were at war. So, they were helping build the planes, all types of stuff. So it's not that women haven't worked on this planet. Women have always worked. But in today's society, it seems like, what I'm saying, it's a level of laziness that has kicked in for some women. And they just don't want to, do things and stuff like that. I mean, 40 hours a week, I get it. He works 40 hours a week. Grass still needs to be cut. Certain things still need to be done. Maintenance needs to be had on the house. If y'all do have a home, if y'all do have a house, apartment, of course, that's different. That's a whole different talking point with an apartment. But, it just boggles me that, what I'm saying, people would do things when they're single versus when they feel like they, have somebody else that's supposed to have their back and things like that. And things kind of change, or, people get a little bit more, lazier.
Yeah.
Experience the newest innovation from the most trusted.
I get confused with this topic is that the concept of traditionalism, I think, is just a term because women have always worked, like always. That's actually not a new thing. The capacity that they work now is different. it's more applicable to where they're earning a lot more, because even especially you want to keep it in our community, the women of yesteryear used to work in other people's homes, do laundry, things of that nature. So they may have made, let's say, $5 a day compared to their husband making 40. Now it's more even. And so I guess where I get lost is you can always create the household the way you want it, but earning more money seems to now create this idea that, well, we need to change the trajectory of how we function in a relationship. And I guess that's where I get a little lost, because there's never been a time where women have not worked. They've always worked, always. So to not have a job or facilitate any kind of work is a fantasy. That's just not how things have ever really been done.
Yeah, I agree with True. I think that seeing as how the economy isn't based on like a pay scale that's relevant to masculinity, so you could be the most feminine woman and make 10 times more than your husband. I don't think that should be the metric that we base everything off of, but I do think that a masculine and feminine exchange has to occur within a relationship. So that would require some form of, it might not be the most rigid, but some form of a structure that allows those energies to coexist in a proper context, in a proper way.
But see, though, you know what I'm saying? And the thing of this is, it's not the hours that these women are working. It's the amount of money that they feel like they're making. And we hear it all the time. You know what I'm saying? Most women want a man that's making, you know, way more than her, or at least a little above her, or, you know, in some cases, chicks are talking about equal, whatever. But that's the thing, though. Women are on the material side of the situation as far as where the monetary value is. And that's how they're valuing men in today's society, is our monetary value, not other things that we have to do as men. You know, they think that's just supposed to come with it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Well, you're a man, you're just supposed to automatically cut grass. You're just supposed to automatically do things. You're just supposed to automatically do this and that. But your finances is what I'm judging you by, that I think will set you above me if you're making more than me.
So what the French toast is there to think about?
And this is where we at here. And this is the dynamic that we're talking about. You know what I'm saying? That, you know, most women think this way. And regardless of what people are saying here, it's just the facts. You can't, I mean, it's it's talked about all the time. And this is where we at here.
So the answer would be yes, but it would need to be retweaked just for, like, because you can't just be a strong physical man and make the most money in the world. It really don't work that way, you know?
In what ways do you feel that it should be retweaked?
Just in regards to, because, all right, you a doctor, right? And you make more than your husband, so you now the breadwinner. Do you now want him to, you gonna start cutting the grass? You gonna go and do like the heavy lifting, the typical like masculine chores within the home? You now the disciplinarian full time? You know, like, does that switch your entire position, or is it just in the finances? Is what I mean by retweet.
Right.
Okay, see, I thought you were a different direction with that. Because if we're being honest, there are women that are in relationships that do cut grass, right? That do the heavy lifting. There are couples in relationships where the woman is the disciplinarian and the man is not. So I don't feel that money necessarily has something to do with it. I think it's the hours and the type of work that both genders now put in. And I see that you guys continue to talk about like men and they're making less money. So now the woman, you know, it's the thing, it's all about like the man. But the argument is, are there traditional roles, right? And the traditional role of a man was to provide and take care of the household and pay all of the bills. So if the average man today is not able to do his traditional role, then should we expect women, or is it even realistic that most women would just have the traditional role of working and also doing everything that a woman is supposed to do? Or should it be tweaked where we both put in the same amount of energy?
I don't believe your opinion is accurate all the way around, Ty, because and then maybe it's just the way I'm hearing it, maybe it's the way we say it. This whole men provided, women say that very, very candidly, not understanding that men have actually never provided individually. Men have provided as a community. There's always been a tribal approach to relationships. There's always been a community approach to relationship. So if you do the research on how people even came about getting together, women came from families. There was never a man that had all the resources, met a woman, and then absorbed all of her debt or whatever. That's never how it's been. Families came together. So when you see men providing, as we say, they had jobs women couldn't have, but they were building families. That's the only difference now, to where people ain't doing that no more. We have individualism now. So when you meet a woman, current day, even if you meet a woman, she probably doesn't have a family she comes from, a dad that you can talk to, because what's supposed to happen is he's supposed to be getting to know her and then figuring out how his family and their family are going to build. They would typically provide for that household to where they can go look at homes. I'm going to buy you guys a house where you marry my daughter. You're going to acquire CDs and things that we've been putting away for her. That's not how we do things now. So this whole men providing thing is nonsense. It's a fallacy. That's not how it goes.
Right.
So what the French toast is there to think about?
Now we're at this point. Now we're at this point right here. You know what I'm saying? And this is where it's at. Traditionally, that's how it's been. When we had families intact back in the day, you know what I'm saying? The boyfriend, whatever, would meet the young lady's father. Eventually, she would meet his parents and stuff like that. And if it was applicable for this union to actually move forward within a marriage and combine the two families and stuff like that, then of course, like he said, like True said, the dynamics would grow. It will grow. The father of the bride, stuff like that. Traditionally, yeah, you know, the father would pay for the marriage, all this type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Then the son's father would actually provide a certain amount of finances for him to be able to buy a home and other little things. You know what I'm saying? And collectively together, the family put in together in order to, you know what I'm saying, make sure that this marriage was successful from the jump and provided resources. That's what a family does. That's the whole purpose of a family. And the family extends out into a community. That's the reason why when two families get together, you know what I'm saying, it's the tree of life. Two families get together, they start building the tree, branches move out, stuff like that. And, you know, other people get added onto the branch or things like that. Man, this is not complicated. But see, though, we've lost that thought process about how we're supposed to move as a community and society.
So what the French toast is there to think about?
That's the reason why these women are sitting out here nowadays thinking that a man's supposed to be able to afford a $100,000 wedding and stuff like that, when that's impossible. You know what I'm saying? Because the only reason why it would have been possible back in the day is because the families came together. And, you know, back in the day, wasn't nobody paying $100,000 for a wedding. Let's just keep it honest. But, you know, they were paying for weddings. They was actually supporting this new couple on their, you know, branch out from the family to start an extended family from each family coming together. And that's how it worked. And everybody put in on the pot. You had uncles, cousins, you know what I'm saying, aunties, you know, mom, dad, they put in for the children, stuff like that to help with the home. They bought gifts for the home, stuff like that. Man, y'all don't understand. Y'all, in today's society, people have the whole illusion that men just supposed to be these super providers and things like that, because we've allowed ourselves to come to this egregious way of thinking in society when it's never been that way the whole time throughout the history of this damn planet. We've always had communities and families. I definitely agree with what True said. It's major facts, because I know the truth behind that.
So, Ty, I got a question for you. You said that women cut the grass now. They pump the gas too. And they have men, these women that are doing these things?
Yes, because these are households where they split these responsibilities as well. Of course, you still have those situations, as I said, dependent on the actual relationship. So of course you have those households where men do certain things and women do certain things, but they also have people that are deciding that they will split it down the line. So women don't mind cutting grass because they did that before they met that man. So now they continue to help him out with those things. They take out the trash. You know, they they fix their own cars. I've literally been outside and watched a girl with her boyfriend behind her changing a tire. So I'm just saying, it's not the idea that you guys are having of traditional roles. I feel like it's only being focused on women and what women are lacking in a relationship. And I just want to point out that it goes both ways, right? It's not a lack on either side. It's just things have changed. And now we're both realizing that we can both do these things. And probably if we both do, right, decide to help each other in these aspects, life gets a little easier, especially since life now is, you know, more expensive, more, you know, of a burden. It's harder, more stressful.
It's really not. You know what I'm saying? Stop trying to live a daydream out here. You know, and I know nobody wants to hear the truth, but the fact of the matter is, if you lived at least a little bit below your means and save and this and that, you could afford things later on. See, nobody has patience. Everybody wants everything now. That's the reason why life seems so hard, because you need it immediately. You need the big house right now instead of, you know what I'm saying, living in a moderate home that you could pay off very quickly and then move towards something bigger, have that as a rental property, and, you know what I'm saying, move forward from there. Like, you know, everybody wants to start off on the damn top. And that's the issue with our psyche over here in America, is like we see this daydream aspect that we're just supposed to all start off on top. Nobody's supposed to work for things over a period of time, maybe a decade or two, and things like that. That's too long for a lot of people. You know, and that's the issue. Like you know, you want everything within 2-3 years and shit like that of being together, or maybe a year. Like, it's just, come on now, that ain't gonna work.
Than it may have been before. And then going back through real quick, I'm sorry. You were saying that before families came together and they bought homes and things of that nature. Are we talking about Black people, or are we talking in general?
Yes.
No, we're talking about Black people too, because the church used to be the center of making sure that when a couple was looking to get married, that they would take up a collection amongst the community, and that marriage was facilitated amongst the community.
Right.
So what the French toast is there to think about?
This ninja is cooking out here. He cooking. I know what he's saying is facts because I come from the old school family, and I have cousins and relatives throughout my family, stuff like that are engaged in this type of activity. That's how, you know what I'm saying, definitely in the Black community. The Black community used to be actual, you know what I'm saying, church people collectively across the nation, period. You know what I'm saying, regardless of where you live, man. And we had community, and this is where we at here now.
So this idea again that you met a man that just had this great job and he made so much, and you got, that's not how it ever worked. What? Yeah. And so, I'm sorry.
No. I was about to cut you off. You finished.
No, I'm just speaking to the fact that I think that does not get any credence. That it's this idea that, because when I hear women say, well, men were always to provide, men have actually never done this. If you look at how we've always built society, we've always had communities. We had groups of people in our tribes. We had the hunters, we had the leaders, we had the elders, and there was always a community approach.
Right. We had the farmers. Those were totally separate from the hunters. You know what I'm saying? The hunters were totally separate from the warriors. See, this is what happens when you people don't know shit. And tribes is what actually, basically, tribes is community. Basically, you know, we did take away the word tribe and put community in. It's the same damn thing. It's crazy out here. And see, another issue is what's not being talked about as well, is that people back in the day used to get married younger. You were getting married at, 18, 19, 20, you know what I'm saying? Things like that. And of course, your family would, like he said, have the resources built to where they could go and actually help you with buying your own house so you can branch off and start your part of the family tree. You know, and it just is what it is, people. And it seems like this information has escaped us now because we live in so much debauchery and confusion and stupidity in society till we just, you know, have forgotten all the old ways of how we used to actually be a good community, and the community used to thrive, and it would protect the women and children, and it would honor the men and stuff like that, to where everybody was in their proper place and we had true community and everybody had some sense of humanity. This is crazy out here. But True is speaking the truth, though. This is a lot of information that needs to be put out here that we are not understanding. Everybody back in the day wasn't waiting until they were 30, 40 years old to start getting married and start having children. This is ridiculous. And then they're wondering why the situations is not working out, because you're waiting too late. People back in the day started early with marriages and they didn't have anything. So all this providing and stuff like that, when you and her are 19, 20, 21, 22, 23 years old, that's impossible. You wasn't meant to be a super provider as a young man at that age. She wasn't meant to be a super woman and doing all this at that young age. Y'all had to come together and took what you learned from your family. She took what she learned from her family, and you took what you learned from your family as a man, and y'all combined together and branch off and start a different branch of the family fucking tree. This is crazy.
So what the French toast is there to think about?
It's crazy.
Relationships, always. We decided to break that. So because now we have individualism, we still want to take the benefit of men providing. That's nonsense. It's never been that way. Right. If you look at even the current day communities that are Middle Easterns, whites, Asians, it's the same. There are no men that just do one thing, then they do it great. Their whole families do everything. When they get married, they absorb resources. The whole weddings, 50,000, 80,000, 100,000. How you think that stuff is happening? Like, the families are doing it. Our community don't do that. That's all I'm saying.
Joey?
Yeah.
Jesus, man. This young man is speaking so much truth right now till it's ridiculous out here. It's ridiculous. Brother, people, whether you want to believe this or not, these are facts. You know what I'm saying? And like he said, he brought up the other communities around the world, the Asians, you know what I'm saying, all the other communities and stuff like that do that. You know, if y'all remember the movie Crazy Asians some years ago, you know what I'm saying, that whole family provided the money. Both sides of the family provided the money for that wedding and stuff like that. This is no joke. This is no joke. This is how it used to go.
Go ahead. I'm letting somebody else.
Okay. So I think it should just be a balance where no one is exhausted, right? Whatever that looks like.
Man, stop it. If y'all paying attention here, this is the second time they done glossed over what this young man had to say.
And what the French toast is there to think about?
You old fish-eyed fool.
This is the second time they done just ignore what he had to say. This young man right here, True Table, gave good knowledge right then about how things. Listen, look. He gave the knowledge about how things used to work and the reason why things are not working today. This is the facts. When we had family and community, women were in a different mind space, men were in a different space. You know what I'm saying? Everything worked out the way it was supposed to go because community and family works together to keep everybody not happy, but actually, you know what I'm saying, mentally stable and actually, you know what I'm saying, living healthy. But in today's society, you know what I'm saying, we've negated all that. And we have this, like he said, this independence situation to where, you know what I'm saying, nowadays there's no real family and there's no real community and stuff like that. But women think that men have always been these like illustrious providers and stuff like that. And like he said, most of the, to be honest with you, the thing of this is that it came from the family units coming together in order to give the young people a boost in life. You know, you get the young man gets a start in life, you know, maybe one of his uncles or maybe one of her uncles works at a factory or something like that, or works at this job. All right, well, let me give you a job, son. You know, listen, look, man, that's how I used to work. Man, come on, bro. Listen, the community is what fed the community.
However, we pretend as if women aren't very comfortable with traditional roles. It all depends on what it is. I heard lawn mowing, but we're talking about 7.2% of women who actually mow lawns. That's minuscule, not even worth mentioning, to be honest. And if you're talking about household chores, you know, we share those now. Somebody was trying to say something. Hold on.
Yeah, I was
I'm
going to
not
add
going
to
to take
it.
that long. Go ahead. What you going to say?
To your point, it was pumping gas, changing the tire, and mowing the lawn and taking the trash. So you might as well throw protection in too. If you got to do all those things as a woman, you don't got a man. Like I don't think that.
Yeah,
that man is
and
worth staying with you.
I don't think that women should do that. No woman with me is going to do any of those, or not even touch trash or any of that. And I have never met a woman who said they would be uncomfortable with that. So that's why I say women are comfortable with those roles. And primarily, men are still the breadwinners. We're talking about 16% of women who may actually make more than their men. And then you got about 29% where it's just about kind of equal, but 55% of women enjoy the man being the primary or sole breadwinner. So we can't be, and that's most. 55% is most. Right. So most women do enjoy the luxury of having a man as the primary breadwinner and are very comfortable with it. And I don't see anything wrong with it. So there are such things as traditional roles. I mean, men and women are completely different, and we have to understand that. But what I will say is, if you can do what you want, but if you want to enjoy the luxuries of gender role, then you have to take what else comes with that gender role.
Right.
So what the French toast is there to think about?
And this is where we at here. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, you know, Brother Truth spoke the truth out here about how things, you know, technically are supposed to go in order for, you know, the ladies and the women to feel safe and comfortable and not have to, you know, work as hard and stuff like that, you know, and things like that. You know, when families and community come together, you know what I'm saying, when the new couple branches off, okay, and the family has, you know, made sure that they, you know, share resources, stuff like that from both sides, the male and female side, you know, the family, stuff like that. They in the home, things like that. The wife starts to have children. And think about this, like I said, they started off at young ages back in the day. It wasn't, you know, you 35 years old just now getting married. You know, it didn't work that way. So, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, they shared the resources and stuff like that. She gets pregnant, stuff like that. So she would have a plethora of help, you know, from her community, which, you know, the ladies on her side of the family and the ladies on his side of the family would help take care of her, the children, stuff like that. They, you know, the women knew how things worked as far as, you know, menopause and all this, not menopause, but postpartum and stuff like that. So they knew when certain stuff would kick in because it's a collective, a community that's working on things with this new family that's being birthed. And, you know, they would, you know, come in and help and relieve her at times and stuff like that while he was out working because, you know, the uncles and all, you know, everybody was, you know, had him on, you know, jobs and stuff because they already probably had careers established where they can get him hired in certain places and stuff like that and help jumpstart the family. And this is a part of what community actually means.
So what the French toast is there to think about?
This is community. You know, but it is what it is, though. Shout out to all my subscribers. Mad love to y'all. If you're new to the channel, Please hit that like, share, subscribe button. Make sure you ring that bell to be notified whenever I decide to post things. And like I always say,
and that, my friends, is the bottom line.
That, my friends, is the bottom line.